Good morning, guys. So our starter is ready, and that means we can bake bread. So I'm gonna do a full video from start to finish. But let's talk about starter a little bit. Looks like there's some confusion. It doesn't take you 6 days to make one loaf. let's clear that out first. I'm not an expert on bread or sourdough bread. I'm a beginner, and I'm like exploring myself and learning and constantly trying new things. But it takes about a week to 2 for your starter to get going. And the starter is basically your yeast. You use a little bit of it every time you bake. You store the rest, and then you take it out, you feed it again, it rises, you use that part of it, and then store it again. And you can, it'll keep in your refrigerator indefinitely if you take good care of it. So that's part of the starter. And that's just flour and water and the bacteria from the air that you let into the jar, and it's a fermentation process basically, from what I understand. So that's that about the starter. A few tools that you're gonna need for baking is basically, we've already talked about your scale, and then I ordered some Benetton baskets for your bread to, you put this in there in the refrigerator for it to ferment. 2 months ago I ordered these, and they just arrived. It's got a little brush, a little scoring thingamajig. I've been using my serrated bread knife, and that works fine too. But I just want to show you guys the smallness of this basket. I don't know why it's so small, but whatever, it'll do. That's fine. And then you do want to have some rice flour, which is good for the baskets. Regular flour will stick to your dough, so rice flour is perfect for that. So my starter's been in the refrigerator. I took it out early this morning. I'm gonna feed it, and when it rises, basically doubles in size, I'm gonna do the little float test, which I'll also show. It's just basically you put some water in a bowl and a tablespoon of starter, and if it floats, then you're good to go. So let's get going. I'm gonna feed my starter so it rises enough for me to use to bake. Now, let me show you how little of an amount you need to save every time. Look how little of an amount that is. This is my Sunshine, the starter I've had for 2.5 months. After I used it last time I baked, I saved this much in the refrigerator, and that's all you need to save, very little amount, because then you can make that grow and double and triple it in size. It's possible. So I have my Hope starter here, and I'm gonna feed it and let it stand. So let's get going. So let's start with Hope. We've got our 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of water. Now you can use a little bit warmer water if you want this to rise faster. The other way you can do that is I sometimes put it in my oven with the light on, and it gets it to where it wants to be rather quickly. But the weather's been nice and warm, so I don't think we're gonna have any issues with our starter rising. And so that's it. We fed our starter. It's looking very happy, and I'm gonna put it aside and come back in a few hours and see what it looks like. Probably a couple of hours. Here's a little trick that you guys can warm up your starter faster, is by wrapping around in a towel and create a little warm atmosphere environment for you. Okay. Here we are. Let's do the float test. I have just a small bowl with some water in it. So let's take a little bit of our, that starter looks beautiful. And you see how it floats? That means it's ready. What we're gonna do is we're gonna mix our flour and water. This is one of the ways of doing it. It's a different process, and that's what I've been using all this time. and it works really well. 500 grams of flour and 350 grams of water. So we're gonna mix these first and let it stand for about a half hour, and then mix in our yeast or starter and salt. So what I have here, it's basically 500 grams of flour is 3 1/4 cup of flour. So I have 2 cups of regular flour here and 1 1/4 cup of wheat flour. And then our 350 grams of water is basically 1.5 cups of water. And I'm using lukewarm water again. So we're gonna mix the water in with the flour. These handy dandy dough mixers are really good. I ordered this online as well, but you can use your hands, whatever. So we're gonna start incorporating this. Now, at some point, it's gonna feel like you don't have enough water, but you gotta stay with it. The water will soak in all the flour and form like a very shaggy kind of dough. As you can see, it's coming together. So you just gotta stick with it and not give up. And just mix this really well. It's looking really nice. And that's it. So what we're gonna do, we're going to cover this with some plastic wrap. And we're gonna let this sit here in the counter for about 30 minutes or so. And then we'll come back, we'll mix in our starter and the salt. And then we'll get into the, you know, pull and fold process, which is my favorite part. Right, see you guys in a bit. Okay, we're ready to add our starter to our flour and water and our salt. So once again, I measured, we needed 75 grams of starter, which for those of you who don't have a scale, I measured, and it is about 1/2 cup of starter. And then we need 10 grams of salt, which I measured again. It's a little less than a tablespoon. So here we go. We're going to mix the starter and salt. And then I usually at this point get my hands involved and get that mixed well together, incorporate it. That's it. So we're gonna cover this up again. We're gonna come back in about 30 minutes and do a pull and fold 4 times and then let it bulk rise. But a lot of times I just keep folding for 3 to 4 hours and then just form it and put it in the refrigerator. So, but we'll get to that one step at a time. All right, we're good. Okay, so 30 minutes later, this is what it's gonna look like. We're gonna start pulling and folding. We're gonna do this a few times, so let me show you. You can have a little water around, but no need really. See how it's kind of wet, but really soft. You're just gonna tug at it a little bit, and then fold it over. And every time you do this, you're gonna feel the change in your dough, and it's gonna just look amazing. That's it. Very quick. Every half hour, 45 minutes or so. That's it. Okay, so this is my 4th pull and fold, and then I'm gonna leave it to bulk rise. A little water. You can see how it's changed. I didn't want to show you every single one. It becomes repetitive, but basically that's what you do. So I'm gonna let this bulk rise for a couple of hours. If you need to help it rise a little, Again, you can put it in your oven with the light on and come back to it. So, done. Okay guys, so this has been bulk rising for about, I want to say 3.5, maybe 4 hours. I wasn't planning on leaving it that long, but so it's doubled in size pretty much. There you go. So I'm going to cut it in half since I have these new Benetons, even though this one's super tiny, but I'm going to use it. Okay. I've got to be really careful because I took my brace off and my doctor should not see this. I'm going to play with it a little bit, beat the crap out of it. Get your aggressions out. And then these are really helpful tools. This is the part that's a little difficult to learn, but not that hard. If you don't have one of these, you can always use your hands and just kind of push it into each other. What we're looking to do is tighten it basically. And that's it. Nice tiny little round. We're gonna put it there. We're gonna bench rest for 20 minutes. Let's do that with this one as well. As you can see, I have no flour on the surface. If you have good dough, you shouldn't really need any. That's it. We'll be back in 20 minutes. Okay, so they've been resting and happy for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So it is at this point that you can add some toppings or inserts. I don't know what you want to call it. So what we're gonna do is just kind of spread it out. Based on this one, I'm going to put some sesame seeds and some sunflower seeds. So bubbly, I love it. And now we're gonna round them up again, make them nice and tight. So I have some rice flour in here so it doesn't stick. Upside down. And then we're gonna flour around to put that inside. And this will be fermenting in the fridge overnight till tomorrow morning when I get to bake it. So let's move on to the next one. These are so small. I've never made them this small. Bag. I reuse my bags, as we all should. Now, if you don't have these little baskets, I just use a bowl with a towel and rice flour again. Hey guys, me again. So these babies are gonna go in the refrigerator to ferment overnight. Just a few things. I know this process seems daunting, but don't get discouraged. I know you probably feel like, oh my gosh, you know, I have to give my whole day to it, but don't think of it that way. Just think of it like if you're gonna be home, pick a day that you're gonna bake, and it's really not that complicated. You just need to commit a few hours just to fold and whatnot, but you can go about your business and do other things throughout your day. But you know, anything worthwhile, you need to commit a little bit, right? You're gonna get fantastic sourdough bread out of it, so you know, you got to. So I'll come back and bake these in the morning and finish my video and post it. And I hope you learned something a little bit about sourdough bread with this video, but you know, it's not over yet. We'll be back in the morning. Good morning. It's bake day, yay. Very exciting. So my oven's been on for half hour or so at 500. And I'm gonna start with this cute little basket. So it ferments even in the refrigerator, and it rises. As you can see, it's formed some bubbles and whatnot. So at this point, we're not gonna play with it anymore. Okay, so here we are. You can see it's got some rice flour on it. You can brush a little bit of it off. So it's the first time I'm using my little scoring gadget. And I don't know, I just keep it simple. Especially this little guy, I don't know. Let's see how it's gonna turn out. Okay, that's it. And I bake, you can use a Dutch oven or one of these clay tagines. That's what I'm using. Basically anything that has a cover, a lid, because you're gonna bake with the lid on for about 30 minutes, and then open it and lower the heat and leave it out for the nice crust. Okay, it's going in the oven now. Okay, this is my favorite part, actually. The reveal of the little loaf. Ooh, looks so good. So I'm gonna lower the heat and to 475 and let it get crispy. Okay, so 10 minutes without the lid, and voila. Here we have it. Beautiful. Tiny little loaf, but very, very, very happy. We have nice crust, a nice split ear, and you know, whatever, a few designs. Looks good. On to the next one. Okay, loaf number 2. Nice. Very, very nice. And the longer loaves, I like just splitting in half, and that's it. Or scoring down the middle. And lift the lip up a little bit. Looking good, huh? And don't forget, lid on for 30 minutes at 500, lid off at 475 for 10 minutes to get crisp. And here we are. That's loaf number 2. So these two are that one recipe, but split into 2. So you can get 2 mini loaves out of it, or 1 large loaf. And here's what it would look like if we made just one bread from that recipe. It's a larger loaf, so this is going into the oven too. And that's that, you guys. Oh, that's beautiful. So this is the same recipe if you only make one loaf. And it's beautiful. And my 2 little mini loaves. So this was fun. I actually got my lipstick on for a video. And I can't wait to dig into this bread with some butter and a little walnut liquor. Very lovely. My #1 fans waiting for my bread. Also, a game changer for me was a video for pro home cooks. It's called 15 Mistakes Most Beginner Sourdough Bakers Make. Watch that video. It's really good. It's on YouTube. One more thing, I will also write a little description with the video, with the measurements and everything, so you guys can check that out. And feel free to send me any questions, comments, corrections. I'm new at this too.